I don't even know what we're talking about next. There's so much Christian nationalism. My brain is filled with Christian nationalism. I'm just a rosary bullet away from...
just one beat away from taking over the country. Let's talk about climate change.
Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun. I will do the next best thing. Block it out.
Climate change. Climate change. Climate change.
Mass extinction.
Climate change.
Climate
Fun
change.
jingles. We got an article here. Yeah, we got an article here from Bloomberg. And the headline here: Extreme heat uncovers lost villages, ancient ruins, and shipwrecks.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so, we've been hearing a lot about climate change, the ocean sea level rise, the melting ice, and, the world is going to be flooded.
Yeah.
Not always the case for everywhere, I suppose.
But the sea level is lowering?
Extreme heat this year has triggered wildfires, drought, and melting glaciers. Less expectedly, it's also revealed some weird and dark things about our past.
Oh.
Shipwrecks, corpses, ghost villages, ornamental gardens.
Dark.
Okay, yeah.
The dark history.
And ancient cities. Ornamental gardens can be dark and weird if they're like skulls or something. Mm-hmm. Here's a look at some of those discoveries. The first one here is Roman remains. Italy's drought has revealed artifacts from World War II and a glimpse of life under Nero. Months without rain and an earlier than usual halt in flows from melting snow in the Alps depleted the River Po, Italy's longest river, to its lowest level in 70 years.
I'm sorry, can you read that again? Melting snow depleted the river?
No, halts in flows from melting snow, yeah.
Halts
so it's
and
not
flows
melting
from melting snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the snow is not melting.
Snow's not melting. It's depleted the River Po, Italy's longest river, to its lowest level in 70 years. The dried up riverbed revealed previously hidden World War II era wreckage, such as a German tank and cargo ships.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. This is kind of like, In Rome, meanwhile, drought sapped the river. Let me try that again. In Rome, meanwhile, drought sapped the river Tiber and unveiled a bridge that's thought to have been built during Emperor Nero's rule. That's a long time ago. This summer's extremely hot and dry conditions in Italy forced the government to declare a state of emergency in July because all these ancient things are being revealed.
Yeah, maybe they're scared they're going to uncover some sort of Nephilim who will awaken.
Spanish Ghost Village, a town stuck in the early 1990s, has reemerged in Galicia, Spain.
1990s? Surely not the 1990s.
Aceredo, I think I'm saying that right, a village near Spain's border with Portugal, was flooded in 1992 to make room for the Alto Lindoso Reservoir.
Oh.
In February, about 30 years later, drought re-exposed the small town. Soon, tourists began flocking to see a place frozen in time.
It's just like a bunch of Tamagotchis and cassette tapes laying around. Ooh,
VHS players.
This ancient VCR.
Scientists expect Galicia to continue suffering from extreme dry spells. Quote, rainfall and drought patterns are always more complex, more difficult to predict scientifically, said Geoffrey Carnicer. You can't say that. Barcelona-based climate researcher and an author of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's sixth assessment. Quote, the risk of drought in the next decades in this area will increase. When you have scientists saying things, I feel like scientists are getting misquoted or like quoted out of context a lot. Because they these mainstream outlets really do reveal kind of the true reality of what these climate scientists are seeing. He says right here, rainfall and drought patterns are always more complex, more difficult to predict scientifically. But somehow we're coming up with all kinds of policy based on other predictions about what's happening.
Yeah, because you just got to tax them and then you can fix climate change.
Yeah. Grim Discoveries Lake Mead unveils a creepy collection of the desert's history. I got some photos here of like a snorkel, just the goggles of a snorkel. I'll just read it here. Some U.S. reservoirs that shouldn't have brimmed with snowmelt in the spring instead had bathtub rings of dry dirt, including Lake Mead. The lake fell this year to a record low. Lake Mead, the massive reservoir at the iconic Hoover Dam, has shrunk to a fraction of its former self to become a site of ghoulish curiosity. Ghoulish. Visitors have come across everything from sunken boats to dead bodies. Quote, "We can find everything from a missing jet ski to more bodies," said Michael Green. It's a lot of bodies, said Michael Green, an associate professor of history at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Quote, "As the water recedes, we will find more," end quote. The human remains discovered at the site include a body in a barrel, according to the U.S. National Park Service. The cause of death is under investigation. Wasn't there a whole thing about this? Wasn't there a whole... I remember seeing like a documentary or something about someone who did this. It was like an extreme sport thing in the early 1900s or something.
Are you talking about like Niagara Falls or something?
Was it Niagara Falls? Yeah, maybe it's something like that.
Niagara Falls in a barrel?
Yeah.
No, this was definitely a mob hit.
Yeah, or that, yeah.
Definitely a mob hit.
Human remains discovered, cause of death under investigation. The Shackleton wreckage, which we've covered, is part of the list here. The melting ice, of course, in Antarctica. Mm-hmm. On February 25th, Antarctic ice sea cover shrank to a satellite-era record low level, which may have helped solve one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. Around that time, a crew set off on a research vessel from South Africa to the depths of the Weddell Sea, a remote area of the Antarctic coastline, to locate, survey, and film the wreckage of Sir Ernest Shackleton's ship Endurance.
Yes, we covered that live, basically.
Yeah, so we'll skip that one, the rest of it. A secret garden. A UK heatwave has unearthed a florid 17th century landscape. Extreme summertime heat in Britain has scorched the south lawn at a historic home in central England, revealing a hidden 17th century garden. Abroad, ornate patterns can be seen on the lawn at Chatsworth House of Derbyshire, dubbed the Great Parterre. The extensive garden dates to 1699 and was once filled with flower beds and paths. By 1730, the ornate landscape was grassed over, and because the new lawn has shorter roots, it burns more quickly. On July 26th, Chatsworth logged a temperature of 38.1 degrees Celsius, about 100 degrees. 100 degrees. It says 100 degrees Celsius. It's supposed to be Fahrenheit.
38.1 degrees Celsius, then parenthetical 100.6 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
come on, guys. It's supposed to be Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Also, 100 Fahrenheit. This is not, I mean,
super hot.
Not
maybe
the
for
end
this
of the
area.
world.
Maybe for this area, it's something else. Also, Mesopotamian treasure, Bronze Age Empire Urban Center has reappeared in Iraq. This one's a little bit more interesting, too. From a dried up area in Iraq's Mosul reservoir this year, the ruins of an extensive ancient city surfaced. A team of Kurdish and German archaeologists rushed to investigate the site of Kemun, an ancient city on the Tigris River that flourished under the Mitanni Empire from 1550 to 1350 BC during the Bronze Age.
You know, it brings up an interesting question. Mm-hmm. All these civilizations that are being uncovered by lack of water. First of all, we covered it before, the sleeping giant glacier in Antarctica and how the melting of the Antarctic glaciers are going to rise sea levels. Well, we have sea levels not rising here.
Right.
But also, if sea levels are supposed to be rising because of climate change, what happens to make these cities get covered in water? Was it climate change?
Climate change. Ancient climate change.
Thousands of years ago, climate change melted even bigger sleeping giant glaciers and covered these cities in water, and then more climate change is uncovering them. It's hard to... Why did it get covered in the first place, man?
The research team found ceramic vessels reportedly containing more than 100 cuneiform tablets. Those are Sumerian tablets. The discovery could provide more details about the end of the Mitanni period city and the start of Assyrian rule in the region. Quote, "It is close to a miracle that cuneiform tablets made of unfired clay survived so many decades underwater," said University of Tübingen professor Peter Falzner. who was part of the rescue excavations and commune in a press release. And it goes on here. There's more here. Hunting relics in Norway. What else? That was the last one there. So, it's interesting because the one thing that I thought of was, there's an ancient account of a flood, Basil. I don't know if you know about this ancient flood that apparently occurred.
A couple, but
that killed a bunch of Nephilim, some giants and some abominations. And when the waters receded, it didn't take long. This is the days of Noah here. It didn't take long for people who survived the flood to procreate and then also start building a tower to reach heaven and dethrone God and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
What kind of resources did they have? And, that's been a theory that some of the more, for our fringy friends, if you want to call them that, have speculated about what happened before the flood, the days of Noah that Jesus talks about. He talks about, Jesus says in Matthew 24, as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. So we have the sting here.
But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
And it just goes to show they probably excavated some stuff from the pre-flood era to start building their tower. And it talks about Nimrod becoming a Gibborim.
Cassette players and VCRs and Tamagotchis.
Right.
Yeah.
The ancient pre-flood Tamagotchi, which was more of a cat-like object or something.
Pre-flood Tamagotchis.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing. It kind of messes with people's minds, like, oh, climate change, oh no. But then it's like, wait a minute, the water's receding and it's revealing all this stuff.
Yeah.
It just goes to question. It makes you question, like, what is really going on here? I mean, hopefully for the normie and the gritters, they look at something like this and they stop for a moment. They're like, wait a minute, we've been told this whole time, fear of seawater rise, melting ice caps, all that stuff. Why are we seeing this huge receding of water that's resulting in the revealing of our ancient history?
Well, and that's the interesting part, as we've done for quite some time now, which is go directly to the scientists, such as the Antarctic scientists, where pretty much every Antarctic scientist who studies in Antarctica, not those who are back here being science communicators or whatever, but you go directly to the scientists, and the climate change that is being advertised in the media is at least significantly different from the climate change that is being, that actually is being written about in the actual science. Right. There's a translation error that is happening somewhere between the actual scientists and the science communicators or the mainstream media. And
no surprises there.
I'm just surprised that nobody else is asking these questions. Or why didn't they answer? Why isn't that in this article? The author should be like, now you may be wondering if all of our glaciers are melting and our sea levels are rising, why all this water is also going away and uncovering ancient civilizations.
The only time they quote a climate scientist here, climate researcher, is when he says, kind of difficult to predict scientifically.
Yeah, right. That is the quote from an actual scientist is, it's really complicated. And I don't know. I don't have anything good to tell you. See? Everybody go buy a Tesla.